History. Every day is full of it. And when it comes to the fast lane of video gaming, each day is filled with new releases, tech developments, and memorable moments that make up its colorful past. MegaCat Studios invites you for a stroll down memory lane to learn more about the games we love and the moments that got us to today. Ready to take a trip through time on This Week in Gaming History? Music tames the savage beast, but keeping rhythm isn't always relaxing. Retro rhythm games come in various forms and difficulties, but looking back, one game always comes to mind: Donkey Konga. Released this week on September 27, 2004, Donkey Konga is the first game of the series released for the GameCube. Instead of the usual platformer, the title sets itself apart from the other Donkey Kong games by being a rhythm action game. The game package came packed with a controller resembling a miniature set of bongo drums. Essentially, players need to match the beats displayed on screen for each of the game's 30+ musical numbers. Players follow along as Donkey and Diddy Kong discover a mysterious barrel-like object on the beach, which turns out to be bongos. Unaware of what they are, they take them to Cranky Kong, who suggests trying to play the instrument. Surprising no one, the pair are terrible at it. Realizing that musical prowess could lead to endless profits, meaning bananas, the two embark on a zany musical journey sure to keep players tapping their feet. Multiplayer is definitely where the game shines best. After all, nothing beats 4 friends frantically wailing on mini bongos. On September 28, 1998, a game that shaped a million childhoods came to the Nintendo Game Boy. That's right, we're talking about Pokémon Red and Blue. While Pokémon can now catch them all from their mobile phones, 1998 was a much simpler time. One of the first steps you take in-game is having to choose between Bulbasaur, Squirtle, or Charmander. At the time, no one realized the impact of what seemed like a simple decision. The starter Pokémon of your choice actually acted as a difficulty mode for the early hours of the game. One of the key features for Red and Blue was its use of the Game Link cable and allows the player to connect 2 games together in battle. Pokémon Red had an incredible number of glitches compared to the following games, and you can actually not complete the Pokédex with the Mew glitch. Despite that, the game is beloved by all. Many of us have fond memories of hiding under our blankets after bedtime, eager to fill out our Pokédex, and the franchise has only continued to grow in popularity since. Pokémon Red and Blue, though, have the specific distinction of being the 8th best-selling games in the world. It's not always Wednesday, my dudes, but on September 29, 1996, Pilotwings 64 made its debut on the Nintendo 64. Co-developed by Nintendo and Paradigm Simulation, Pilotwings 64 puts the player in control of one pilot from a roster of 6, where the objective is to earn licenses through different forms of aviation. Players get to explore the breathtaking 3D environment of Pilotwings 64 while being able to embark on bonus tasks such as skydiving, a human cannonball test, or even flying in a bird suit. Like with a lot of other Nintendo games, you can't forget about the Easter eggs. When players see the replica of Mount Rushmore on the little state stage, look for the giant Mario face. If players damage it enough using missiles or even a cannon to shoot oneself, the face will shatter, revealing Wario's underneath. The game was praised in different publications for how it demonstrated the console's graphical capabilities and for its flying controls. Although it didn't keep up with fellow launch game Super Mario 64, the game had sold over 1 million copies worldwide. Speaking of flying, have you heard of Uchu Senkan Gamora? Uchu Senkan Gamora, otherwise known as Bioship Paladin, was released on September 30th, 1991 for the Sega Genesis in Japan. The horizontal space shooter was originally played on arcades, but was then ported to the Sega Genesis. What makes this space shooter unique is, unlike most shooting games, you control a heavy battleship instead of a small efficient glider, resulting in slow-paced gameplay unusual for the genre. Adding to its uniqueness, your ship, the Paladin, actually has an armor gauge, meaning that the ship won't be destroyed by one hit or after brushing up against a foreground object. The game also allowed you to use firepower defensively by shooting down enemy projectiles before they can hit you, and lets you target enemies and even parts of enemies selectively. The game is considered an almost arcade-perfect port on the Sega Mega Drive. What few changes that were actually made enhanced the look of the game, such as added parallax scrolling backgrounds in level 2, and the game difficulty was rebalanced to compensate for the lack of a trackball to control the aiming cursor. Pyro, Call of Duty, Crash Bandicoot, Prototype, and Guitar Hero are some of the popular games we love today, and have been significant titles in the gaming history. Activision, the publisher behind these titles, turns 42 this October 1st. In 1979, the company was founded, and it was the first independent video game developer to have come into existence. Created by 4 former Atari programmers, their goal was to form a third-party video company that empowered the people who created the actual games. They've come a long way from those early beginnings, with success after success. COD players alone log 2,000 years worth of gameplay daily, and the company holds enough cash to buy 75 million copies of Destiny. On October 2nd, 1955, another icon in the gaming space was born. Video game designer, director, writer, producer, and production designer Warren Spector. He's best known for his work on Deus Ex. Deus Ex was conceived by Spector in 1994 under the title Troubleshooter. Spector wanted to create something different from the mainstream fantasy and science fiction games, which he disliked. Many of the elements present in the game are based on real conspiracy theories, such as the Illuminati, the Trilateral Commission, black helicopters, Men in Black, Area 51, aliens, FEMA camps, government-engineered diseases, catastrophes, and the Majestic 12. In a strange twist of fate due to memory limitations, the World Trade Center towers were excluded from the New York skyline. Eerily enough, the in-game story explanation was that the Twin Towers were destroyed in a terrorist attack, a full year before the September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks on the United States, prompting some conspiracy theorists to claim the game had predicted real-life events. Weird coincidences aside, the game was very well received as it offered the player the freedom of choice and a compelling storyline. It has then won multiple awards and was highly praised by critics at the time. Spector does admit in a recent interview he's not sure he'd make Deus Ex in the 2021 climate, citing that the conspiracies they wrote about have now become a full part of the real world. Speaking of praise, let's not forget about the praiseworthy original soundtrack by Silent Hill 2. On October 3, 2001, the game's original soundtrack went on sale in Japan and was released by Konami Music Entertainment Inc. With the exception of the reverse wheel, all tracks are completely instrumental. Sometime that year, the soundtrack was also re-released in Europe as Silent Hill 2 original soundtrack. The CD was packed in a jewel case inserted in a paper box, but with different cover art from the Japanese release. In Silent Hill 2, the audio is as integral a part of the game experience, so much so that composer Akira Yamaoka is often credited as one of the 3 to 4 people behind the creation and formation of the game, holding a status within the development team that is often not granted to the music composer. The soundtrack was so good that Akira Yamaoka performed the music from the series with a full-size orchestra at the Play a Video Game Symphony, a concert that took place in Chicago, Illinois in 2006. Years later, the soundtrack was re-released on vinyl by Mondo, who previously gave the same treatment to the soundtrack of Silent Hill 2 in 2016. That wraps up this week's Video Game Blast from the Past. Be sure to hit like, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you don't miss next week's installment of This Week in Gaming History.